the Korean Peninsula. Hundreds of aircraft, including 2 dozen stealth jets, have landed in South Korea, and the US begins its joint military actions. The two allies have begun the largest ever cooperative air exercise, which has been dubbed Vigilant Ace. Now, with 230 aircraft, including 24 stealth jets, this is nothing short of being prepared. North Korea warns that this representation is just a provocation for all-out war. The military exercises were scheduled less than 5 days after the rogue nation of North Korea launched its latest ICBM test. Vigilant Ace is meant to improve the Allies' wartime capabilities and ensure that they are prepared, as well as have defense capabilities and measures ready to go at all times. The United States 7th Air Force has sent 6 F-22s and 18 F-35 stealth jets, among hundreds of other aircraft, and about 12,000 military personnel are going to be a part of the joint military exercise. In addition to that, the North Korea's Rodong newspaper said that the United States as well as the South Korea's joint drill efforts may lead to nuclear war at any moment. Let that sink in for a while. How we get it? Then we try and put things into perspective. North Korea, a long time ago, was a part of the Japanese Empire. Now, post-World War, when Japan lost its territory and had to pull back, North Korea had a power vacuum, which was filled up by Kim Jong-un. And years later, the same family rules, which is messed up in a way. But then again, that's how most dictatorships work in the first place. Power seems to just be transferred down and down the hierarchical line, which is weird in democratic world of play. But the freedom of the people, well, if you go to see, North Koreans aren't really in the mindset that they are suffering. Few of them who managed to escape the country do describe the conditions to be horrid. But then again, every time you come across some weird propaganda footage, you can always see these couple of people who are brainwashed to the point in which they believe they're in the best country on the planet. They believe that they could have nothing, there's nothing else that could ever go wrong. Their leader's gonna take care of them, just like their leader's grandfather once did. It's turned into this vacuum, which makes it all the more essential for the rest of the communities of the world to step in. Now, more or so, it's weird when you go to acknowledge the fact that North Korea has come a long way. Now, that might sound a little off place, but let me put things into perspective for you guys. North Korea launched an ICBM from the vicinity of Pyeongchang at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. That is 3 a.m. Pyongyang time, for those of you who live in South Korea. I mean, whatever. The rocket traveled for around 50 minutes and reached 2,800 miles. That's around 4,500 kilometers, for those of you using the metric system, in height, and which are all new milestones for North Korea. The missile flew 600 miles, that's 1,000 kilometers, east into the Sea of Japan. And unlike its summer launches, Japan this time did not launch a statewide cell phone alert for all its citizens. North Korea called this launch the Yosong 15, and its potential range appears to be more than 8,000 miles. Now that's around 13,000 kilometers. 13,000 kilometers indicates that it can reach the United States mainland and it can reach Washington. Now, the rest of the continental United States, pretty much so. Anything else about the missile, it's completely unknown. But the missile might have been fitted with a mock warhead to increase its range. But when it comes to the real life scenario, it might not be able to carry that much amount of a payload, 13,000 kilometers long. But that does not render it any less effective. It is still a global threat to any and all who are in the vicinity of North Korea's ICBM launches. The rocket is believed to have broken up when it re-entered the atmosphere. Another very important update to North Korea's missile program is the fact that they recently mastered the capability of refueling their missiles horizontally. Now, what this means is, for those of you who don't know about the terrain that North Korea is basically surrounded by, it's mountains everywhere. And the easiest thing to do is to hide nuclear missiles onto the bases of mountains. Now, there are a lot of assets to doing this, as well as there are a lot of drawbacks. But when you're a country like North Korea, all your assets are basically what are keeping you in power. So, missiles on the bases of mountains that are dug into caves and hidden away are much more dangerous if they can be refueled before they are actually put into position of launch. That means that they have very less time to be counteracted with or to be susceptible to being neutralized before they're even launched in the first place. Satellite imagery is only as good as what it can observe. And if you have a missile test site or a launch site that is still unknown to the rest of the world, or maybe it's top secret launch sites which they're gonna basically hide and throw guard with whatever they've got, even though intelligence agencies from all around the world must be on their point trying to figure it out. If you can refuel a missile horizontally, that means that from the point of position to alignment to launch is significantly reduced, which is a huge threat to anyone who they're pointing at the end of the day. If we date back, on February the 7th of 2016, roughly a month after an alleged hydrogen bomb test, North Korea claimed to have put a satellite into low Earth orbit. Now, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe warned North Korea not to proceed with the launch and said that the rocket would violate Japan's territorial laws. But North Koreans went to go ahead with it anyway. Now, this prompted criticism as well as call for sanctions on North Korea from all the nations surrounding it, including South Korea, Japan, as well as the United States. China responded as well, but China asked everybody involved not to do anything that would worsen the situation in the Korean Peninsula. In a way, it was a smart move, but then again, it left North Korea unchecked. From there, we moved on to August 29th, 2017, where the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the latest North Korean ballistic missile launch and termed it as a violation of the relevant United Nations Security Council resolution. Now, this is important. According to press reports, North Korea's ballistic missile traveled some 2,700 kilometers flying over Japan's territory before it finally crashed into the Pacific Ocean. This was where everything started to go haywire. September was worse. On September the 3rd, 2017, North Korea claimed to have successfully tested a thermonuclear bomb. It is also known as a hydrogen bomb for all us nuke heads. Corresponding seismic activity similar to an earthquake of magnitude 6.3 was reported by the USGS, making the blast around 10 times more powerful than anything that North Korea has ever put together before. Later, the bomb's estimate was to be around 250 kilotons of blast force. Now, based on further study of the seismic data, the test was reported to be a perfect success according to North Korean terms. They got everything that they need. They've come a long way in developing their entire military arsenal, their missiles, their test processes, their military activity, but the people still suffer. There is famine, there is loss of life, there is inflammation, there is struggle, there is absolute third world, worse than third world conditions that are in North Korea for some. There are concentration camps, forced labor camps. It is nothing short of the worst nightmare that you could think of if you were alive back in the day. It's times like these where people like you and me need to be more informed. Yeah, the news tells us only what the news tells us. Things like these, yeah, they might cover well. But it all doesn't make sense if you and I don't know what's happening. According to North Korea's propaganda, nuclear war might break out at any moment of time. How much response time do you think you and I have? War is never the answer to anything. And that's what we all have learned over the years of living together on this planet. There's a lot that we need to learn, there's a lot that we need to understand. But what seems obvious right now is North Korea needs to stop. And we need to find out a way to end this without having it all blow up. Literally and figuratively.